Get up, let me begin. This is CWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is CWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish.
Thank you guys for tuning into the final sit-down morning show of this NFL season. I'm your host, Malik, right? Joining my co-host as always, Daniel Almeida, and my guy, Tim Andrews. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to discuss. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live, when we upload content from the TWSN studios. Now listen, boys, I've got energy today. I got energy today. Maybe it's because it's like, you know, that the second to last day of school, because we still got State of the Jungle, and I plan to go on a beach next week. I might be at somebody's beach, or I might be in Tennessee. I have no idea where I'm going to be just yet. But I'm going to take a vacation. It's been a long season. I'm tired. It's been a long season. That being said, you know, I woke up this morning, as I always do, at around 5:30 a.m. You know what I mean? Woke up this morning, was having a good, nice day, reviewing some stuff, yada, yada, yada. Getting prepared for the final sit-down morning show. And then a statement came out. And the statement was from Bengals president, owner, all that, Mike Brown. Boys, can I read that statement for y'all?
Go for it.
Do your thing.
I'm going to read this statement for you guys really, really quickly. And Marissa, I think we got it up on the screen as well, or at least you have the summary of it. Here it was. It says, and I quote, "We came into the season with high expectations, coming off 4 straight winning seasons with the leaders in place that took us to a Super Bowl and 2 AFC championship games. We know the season has been frustrating and disappointing. The result fell short of our standards, and missing the playoffs again proves there's more work to do. Our focus is on building a team that consistently competes at the highest level with the goal of winning championships. After thoughtful consideration, I'm confident that Duke Tobin and Zac Taylor are the right leaders to guide us forward. They have proven they can build and lead teams that compete for championships. We trust their plans and expect to return to our desired level of success." It doesn't end there just yet, though. "We are taking a hard look at everything we do as we approach this offseason with focused determination to build a championship caliber roster that wins consistently. We are fully committed to delivering results that match the pride, passion, and expectation of this organization and our fans." End quote.
Seen this shit coming.
That was the statement by team president, owner Mike Brown. Now, a couple things that kind of like pull me back a little bit. 4 winning seasons. Wait. Oh, we're counting 9 and 8 winning games at the end of the year that look better on paper as winning seasons. So we just say, hey, this was a bad year, but the other years we finished 9 and 8, those 2 other seasons. And it just was the luck of the draw while we missed the playoffs. You see, that's where I start to talk about accountability.
Right.
Zach, this ain't about you no more. It's higher than you. It's bigger than you. Right? This is about the biggest and the largest. This is about Mike Brown. This is about the Blackburns. This is about all of that. I love how he included Duke Tobin and all that kind of stuff like that. But 4 winning seasons, that's what we're going with. So if the standard is just winning seasons, well, boys, I guess the standard has fell from grace. Because I've always talked about, if you're not going up,
you're going down.
You're going down. If you're staying stagnant, you're going down. You know, I look at other organizations around the National Football League, and I look at how they approach change. Let me be clear on something, too. I don't like being a fire guy. You want to know why? Because I understand how hard it is to coach. I understand how hard it is to get the processes right and have the right people in place as a business owner. I get that. I get that you want to see people through their struggles. I get that you want to see people through it all. And guys, anytime you change coaches, it is not an easy thing, right? There's new practices brought in. There are teams that, there's getting the players to buy in. There's changing the way you guys do things. And I think this is such a team that's always been used to the way that they do things. I understand why they might be afraid or bullish to move off of Zac Taylor, right? Yeah. I understand that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, how bad do you want to win? Has the product on the field shown you that you can win with this guy? Now, maybe Zac Taylor will do great. Maybe it was all because of Joe Burrow's injury and this team would be in the playoffs. I believe they'd be in the playoffs with Joe Burrow. I believe that. But you can't talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda. You got to talk about what it is. And I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. I'm sorry, Blackburn family. I view missing the playoffs as a losing season, even if the statistics still say you finished 9-8. Context matters, and there's a whole lot of context missing from that statement.
Yeah.
4 straight winning seasons, that's what you say? We're not going to talk about how those wins came after you were already eliminated and it was garbage wins? Maybe I got to start listening to the OGs here in Cincinnati who said these meaningless wins, they're going to make this team have a reason to keep Zac. But again, this is bigger, right, than Zac. I think the one thing that I took away from this very broad statement from Bengals president Mike Brown was we're going to look at the way that we approach the offseason and how we do everything. To me, I'm very interested in what that means. Well, listen, I've been yapping a lot. Tim, let's hear from you.
I'm trying to find the right words because, who's the driver of the team? Zac Taylor. We have been witnessing for the last 3 seasons vehicular homicide. I'm not going to lie to you. Where we're at a point as far as Bengals fans are, that statement alone lets you know the mentality that the front office has towards its fan base, towards its coaches, towards its staff and faculty, is the inability to just be honest. You say, if you Google Bengals last 4 years breakdown, says 2021 10-7, AFC North champions, Super Bowl appearance, 2022 12-4, 2023 9-8, and 2024 9-8. Now, when you first throw those numbers out there, they're like, oh, it was a winning season. But even Google keeps it real and says missed playoffs, finish strong. Kind of a pat on the fucking back. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be real with you. I think the recency bias of, and I can't even go with that because you ended up losing yesterday.
Yep.
You lost yesterday. You didn't even finish on a winning note. You had the problem that you've been having all year. You the almost Bengals. You almost had an opportunity at the end of the game. No, you did. You almost stopped them on 3rd and long. You almost converted a 4th down conversion after making, a dramatic sequence of plays during the end of the game. There's almost shit about to happen. Then we get to Monday, and I'm like, you know what? Somebody's head is gonna roll. Somebody about to kick the fucking can. Then you sit here and you hear him say, basically, I know it's been bad. It's not up to our standard. I'm sure you guys want Super Bowls, but it's not always like, no, you should want to feel like that. You should want Super Bowls. You should want to be in the conversation for top of the AFC every fucking year. And then you turn around, and now we're at a point at the end of the year where you're basically telling us the same shit that we got the last 3 years. We're going to be back. We're going to look at everything. We're going to analyze where we went wrong. It's not you guys. It's us. No shit, Sherlock. I know it's you. I know that it's you. Look, the defense has been the issue the entire time. With the end of the year coming, I guess we can now say that we're out of our misery. We're 32nd in yards allowed per game at 406. We're ranked 25th in 2024. We dropped off. We're 31st in points at 29, almost 30 points per game, which was 25 in 2024. Rush defense, take a guess where we're at.
Last 32nd.
Damn, that's crazy, y'all. Yeah. And then also rush touchdowns allowed is at 18 for 2025, which is dead last. And then pressure rate, we're ranked 31st. So congratulations, you didn't last there. It was the problem that we had last year. So I coming into this year thought, or into last offseason, we're gonna fix the most obvious thing on the board, which is we need help on defense. You try to use 𝗬𝗦𝗓𝗦𝗓𝗏 as a scapegoat. I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. Somebody got to take the blame. That's fine. Let's go ahead and get Lou out of there. Now we got opportunity to reset. You better spend some money. You didn't. You went and bought TJ Slayton. Whoop-de-fucking-do. You ain't do shit with that. I didn't see Buddy make any type of I'm not here to bash players. This is a coach's issue. And the fact that we're going to bring back coaches who I know are the fucking issue is my problem. And I know it's early. I'm not trying to cuss a lot. I did some woo sign before I even saw that presser. I'm at the point where I'm trying to find my zen. But I'm gonna say it one more time. Fuck y'all. You can't piss me off no more than it already being a Monday morning. Then you turn around. The only good thing that came out of this, I got to see my guys this morning. Appreciate y'all. We all, we held together this season. Was it by a little bit? Yeah, but we held together to the end. Now we have to go into a draft where's our draft place right now?
Number 10 overall.
Got a top 10 pick. I don't know what the fuck y'all gonna do with that, because I feel like with the Bengals draft board, you have 2 or 3 players that you're like, you know what, I like that. Then after those are gone, you're kind of like, well, he has potential. No, you need to hit this year. Because if you're not gonna spend any money with your cheap asses, you might as well go ahead and make sure that you hit on your draft picks, and you don't have a wide enough variety of eyes in your scouting department to make sure that you hit. So I really think you need to go ahead and do some soul searching yourself, because if you don't hit on these draft picks this year, and you come out here with this same damn defense and you don't spend any money in free agency, and then you got Zach Taylor with his dry ass pregame speeches and halftime speeches. And then you got Duke Tobin sitting there saying, go get your own players. To be honest, we need to go get somebody else's players. You need to stop being stingy. You need to open up your wallet, and you also need to sit there, open up your brain on the idea that we are not okay. You have been okay with mediocrity for the entire fucking year. I just ran down to you what the issue is, and if we don't see any improvement, my dad used to say this, and this is my last bit before get off my. My dad used to say, "Let people do what they want to do to see what they rather do, so you know what you need to do."
I ain't never said that.
I know you fucking lying. Pops, he said, "Mom, got some explaining to do." Look, where we're at now, fuck you. Where we're at right now is that I sat here and I saw what you wanted to do, and I was like, you know what? I know what I need to do. I need to stop having these high expectations, especially when you don't have those for yourself, and you're the one with the checkbook. You're the one who is able to pull the trigger on ideas and philosophies that can improve. There's teams. Look, if you want to talk about people struggling, I can understand Pete Carroll kicking the can. I can understand Kevin Stefanski kicking the can, Raheem Morris kicking the can. For all I care, Brian Callahan, you was dealt with Will Levis, so I feel you. But you had to fucking go too. What makes Zach Taylor any different? You had 3 seasons of missing the playoffs. And then to top it off, cherry on top, no spoon needed. You turn around and go 6-11.
Not even 6-7.
6-11. Shitty. Like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, bro. This is absurd. And that's where I hate to say it, but I think you guys are kind of on the same wavelength of this shit's tiring, man. Like, there is no other way to put it. This isn't even like a last season or the season before where you can say, yo, they had a good end to the season. Bro, you went 3-3 with Joe Burrow. And I want to push back, not that you were saying, that the defense was, terrible. The defense was bad, but let me just kind of put a focal point on Zach Taylor. The defense at the end of the season, they gave up 6 points to the Cleveland Browns. 6 points. The defense did its job yesterday. The offense was the problem. You go look at the Baltimore Ravens loss. Tell me, how many points did the Baltimore Ravens put up and how many points did the Bengals put up? They put up a goose egg. So for everybody calling for Al Golden and say he is the biggest problem on the team, go look at your offense. You couldn't put up a damn point against the Ravens. And then you go look at that Buffalo Bills game. Who was the reason we lost the game? It was the offense. Joe Burrow threw 2 interceptions that led to 2 touchdowns. So this whole blame the defense, yes, the defense is the problem, but with this statement coming out, with the Bengals on 3 straight losing seasons, with Joe Burrow having an MVP caliber season last year, and you still missing the playoffs, with you going 6-11 this season, that is not all on the defense. That is the head man. And that, to a bigger point, is the organization. And the last thing I'll say, just looking at it, at some point, yes, we can keep blaming Zach Taylor, but Zach is not going to fire himself. At some point, you have to realize if somebody is out of their depths. And I'm at the point right now where, looking at how this season played out, I just don't know if the Bengals realize that they're wasting away time. And I do think that Zach Taylor can have success. I think that they can make the playoffs with Zach Taylor. I think they can win multiple playoff games with Zach Taylor, but they would need everything to go right. And I'm fearful right now that we're going to look at this in a year's time, that we are going to see this as wasted time. We're going to be back here in the same spot next year, hopefully with a different tune. But I have no confidence that we won't be sitting back having the same conversation next year, looking back at 4 years' time, looking at Joe Burrow's career saying, damn, was this a waste? Is this Phillip Rivers? Is this guys who never – is this the greatest quarterback to never win a Super Bowl? I fear right now, because I don't feel the Bengals are putting themselves in the best position.
I'll say this, man. Again, this ain't a Zach conversation for me. I'm over that. Right? Yep. You can only say what you need to say so much. But I always believe that, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That all being said, y'all sat up here. This is the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
Let me quote real quick. Man, y'all sat up here and y'all basically said, we believe in Zach. Okay, get all of that. Zach, 2-9. I do have a problem with the 2-9-8 seasons being considered winning seasons, even though they are on paper, right? But y'all know the optics behind it. You knew even when you got to that 9th win, the season was already over. Even though last year you were still waiting to see if things broke your way, it was already over. But again, not even on the Zach talk. Here's the real issue I have with this, guys. Real quick.
Right.
So this is Mike Brown, maybe not even Mike Brown. This is the Bengals organization saying that they can do more, right?
Right.
Whether it be free agency, adding more talent defensively. Listen, every single fan can see, even Stevie Wonder could see, that the defense doesn't have enough talent on it. And, I think the thing that annoys me so much is that we get so caught up in, I guess, the individual performance of players doing well, whether it be relatives or whatever the case may be, that we don't look at the entire state of the defense. Your defense is bad, right? Your defense is bad. Now, luckily, you went up against a Browns offense yesterday who is equally bad, I would say. They're not too good, and they were missing several starters and stuff like that. But even down the stretch, the defense faltered, right? They lacked to get pressure on Shedeur Sanders. Guys failed to wrap up. I look at it and I say, here's the part I struggle with. Y'all, the Bengals know that they have to go out there and spend more money on defense to try and help the defense, right?
Right.
But you fired a defensive coordinator who was faced with the same situation, and that's going to be the reason why you keep Al, because you're going to say, hey, we didn't go out there and we didn't do everything in our power to improve the defense. So you're going to say to the fan base, you're going to say to everybody, hey, our plan is to go in this offseason, be aggressive in free agency, attack the pieces necessary, all three levels of the defense, and then even target it in the draft. But isn't this the same thing we've been screaming, everybody been screaming for the last 3 years? Why were you aggressive in the 2020 offseason and the 2021 offseason, and you rested on your laurels, and you just moved off of those guys? You just moved off of the last guy from that defense. What, just this past summer in terms of acquisitions that you made via free agency? You rested on the laurels of that defense. I'm sorry, BJ Hill's still here. Of guys that you acquired via free agency and one guy you acquired via trade, until they couldn't give no more. The Mike Hiltons of the world, the Trey Hendricksons of the world, right? All those guys, Larry Ogunjobi, all those guys were pieces that helped this defense get to the next level. And then you saw the success that you had and you stopped adding. You haven't added a meaningful piece on the defensive side of the ball since the 2021 offseason. I'm sorry, I guess you can consider Geno Stone a meaningful piece because he's been a starter, but you haven't made any real attempt to get better on the defensive side of the football. And now, right, you're all of a sudden going to make that a priority. To me, I just struggle with it a little bit, because if you're actually looking inwardly, if you're actually considering all things and looking at how you do things as an organization, you would have considered this past offseason. And I'm sorry to say it, this might be the sucky part to say, this ain't that great of a defensive free agency class. It's not.
You're banking on it.
It's really not that great of a defensive free agency class. You could have done that last year. You could have went out and got Javon Holland. You could have done a lot of things. There's
Chase
some
Young.
things. There's some, and even Chase Young ain't been playing whatever, but you could have done things. But I'm not going to even nitpick and say what player, but I'm going to say, to make this observation now is interesting to me. It's very interesting to me. It's like, were you that caught up in the extensions of T. Higgins, Chase, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow, but were you that caught up in those extensions?
Yes.
That you couldn't get that done? You couldn't even get Trey done. Now, obviously, Trey is probably gone, but
ain't got nothing for him.
What was the thought process? Guys, I got a theory here too.
Here you go.
I think the Bengals are going to wind up promoting Duke Tobin to the actual general manager title. I think that's going to be one of the big changes they make. I think they're going to do that. Does this mean Duke Tobin gets more autonomy over the roster and gets personnel say? I don't know if I can see that, but I definitely think from an optics standpoint, they're going to finally give him the general manager tag. Remember, the Bengals never really had assistant general manager tags before, right? Trey Brown and all that. The Bengals have what, 3 guys? 3 or 4 assistant general managers, something like that? 3, I think it is. Well, who are they the assistant general manager to? Oh, the de facto general manager? I guarantee you the Bengals are going to sell it like Duke Tobin has officially been given the general manager's title status. I think that's going to be the optics things that they do. And we're changing things structurally as an organization. You know, I don't know how that goes over with the fan base, but I can't help but feel that's the route we're going. Go ahead, Tim.
Who gets promotions after being mediocre?
But here's the thing. Duke Tobin's draft, like, hold on. You don't even know who you can blame.
Yeah.
Because his title was director of player personnel. I've never seen Duke Tobin mentioned in a statement like this by Mike Brown.
Yep.
Never. Don't even talk about him. He almost talked about him like he had just another scout or something. So for him to say, we believe in our leaders, Duke and Zach, to me, that is singling Duke Tobin out as the general manager of the Cincinnati Bengals. No de facto general manager. Duke Tobin is the general manager of the Cincinnati Bengals, which tells me that's probably the title that's officially going to come. And he's set to speak to the media on Friday. And Victoria Mitchell, appreciate you always in the comment section. She says, does promoting Duke actually help the optics or hurt? I think it gives the fan base someone to blame. I think it gives the fan base someone to pinpoint anything that falls, maybe trades. Well, they don't do those, but signings, anything like that. It gives them somebody to blame. Before you're like, no, it's Duke. No, it's Katie. No, it's true. Remember the family, Katie Blackburn. I've never seen so many people tweet out the name Katie Blackburn this much, right? Emily and all that. I've never seen. The family don't want to be at the forefront. So what they gonna do? Okay, hey, Duke, you're the lead man. You're gonna take the brunt of yada yada yada. Everything. That's what I could see playing out. But I say all that to say, how did it take you 3 years to figure out? Maybe we need to add to the defense again. You fired a coordinator. You said it was the coordinator's fault. Okay, fine with that. You brought in a college defensive coordinator. You still had the worst ranked defense in football. And now you're saying he's not that bad. I'm assuming that. I'm assuming Al's not gone. You know what it is? We need to add pieces to the defense. But maybe if you did that before and you didn't try to replace Jessie Bates with Nick Scott and leave the safety as a rotating position, we clamored for guys to play more. And when those guys played more, outside of Myles Murphy and Jordan Battle and spots, they didn't look great. We clamor for these guys to play more. They're playing more, and the result is the worst defense. I understand you got to go back to go forward. To me, I'm just trying to understand the direction. I'm trying to understand the direction of this team. Tim.
They don't have all right. So on State of the Jungle, we had talked about the inability to coach properly, to have guys be developed the way that you would think would translate into production on the field that's worthwhile. When we had Jessie Bates, when we had Mike Hilton, when we had, DJ Reader and everybody else, that was the perfect time if you decided or you knew in your brain that we're not going to go this same route and we're going to build it. We're going to go on a youth tour. That would have been a great time to groom the guys and have them learn as much as possible under the tutelage of those veteran players. Now, not only is this free agency class mediocre, it's decent, but it's nothing to where it's like, oh, we can fix our defense with 3 or 4 splash players. No, you're going to have a combination of things fall in the correct place in order for things to whip around the way you want to. Joe Burrow, when he entered the league, already wasn't on the side of young necessarily. So your window, honestly, when he first got drafted, I said the Bengals window is probably like, I want to say about 6. This is gonna be funny. 6 or 7 years. So then to turn around and be at the point where Joe is now taking in the sights and sounds of the game at the end, he taking deep breaths and stuff. I think he's just happy that this season is fucking over. Now you're about to just put a flower on Duke Tobin's desk and make it brand new and say, now you're GM. He ain't changed scenery. He's the same motherfucker. He's the same person. And to be honest with you, now Duke low key is that. Just from the outside looking in, I haven't met Duke personally, but I'll say this. Duke low-key has like, I don't give a fuck mentality or kind of like persona that he gives off, the energy that he gives off, where I think he'll be completely fine if it falls on his shoulders, because if it goes right, he'll tell you, I told you fucking so. I told you to wait and be patient. But then it's also, if it goes bad, he's like, we're committed to winning, and we hope that you guys will stick with us, because at the end of the day, it is about the fans, it is about the city, and we want to put the best product on the field so that we can be the best. I'm not trying to hear that shit. 21 skunk, pass the fucking sticks. Like, I'm tired of hearing the same shit, and then it's gonna get to a point to where, are there guys who want to, which it's already kind of been put in the air about not necessarily the players in the locker room, but the front office and making sure that you get paid what you feel you deserve. Do guys want to come and deal with that type of shit here? Because you got to think about it. When there's certain players being dealt with during the offseason, other players look at that. They say, okay, well, y'all treated Trey like shit. He just led the league in sacks the past 2 years. You sit here and you done spent all the money on offense and y'all forget that defense wins championships? And you've had the blueprint for the last 3 years. You found so many scapegoats. We, as Bengals fans, got to sit here and blame other guys who you just sat here and said on Monday, hey, we got to let you go. Now you want to sit here and emphasize the idea in your brain that, oh, we might need to add just a little bit more of not only depth, but veteran presence in the locker room and on the field as far as defense goes. Oh, pass rush is an issue. I thought it was, but I didn't quite think it. I'm Dick Tobin. And, as far as Trey, hey, we tried. I feel like, honestly, and I'm going to be honest, I feel like Trey would have played through. He would have played hurt if he had got paid the money that he deserved. And I think we win 2 or 3 games if Trey is on the field. And I think we've said that earlier in the year. We're like, if Trey was on the field, this game is probably different. The real problem, and before we start talking about all types of other shit, this is my last point. Dan, you said that Zach is the head man. He runs the shit. So that span that we had Joe Flacco throwing for almost 285 yards a game, I think he had like 11 touchdowns, like 3 interceptions or 4 interceptions. During that span, as a head coach, you are to right the ship until your star players are back. You are to find a formula to squeak out wins when shit isn't right. And if you can't do that, if you don't know how to do a patch job when shit hits the fan, you're not supposed to be leading a team. You had ample opportunities. That Bears game, barn burner. You lost that shit. Jets game should have never happened. Those are 2 games. And to be honest, you should have squeaked out a win if you would have put up any type of fight against the Patriots. Those games right there are what would have been my deal closer. Would have been my, you know what, this is a chapter that was cool, but it ended. The shit isn't working. And now you want to give motherfuckers promotions. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You want to let people know that you are committed to winning. I don't see it. Even Google can tell you, yeah, you were 9-8. You missed the playoffs. And with a quarterback like this, with wide receivers like this, and with the money that you invested in the offensive line, the least you were supposed to go was 10 wins. 11, honestly. It's a Super Bowl window, and you sit here treating it like, you know what, we have 10, 12 years to figure this shit out. You don't. You just don't. And players are going to get tired of missing the playoffs or getting to the dance and almost winning it, or sitting here and hoping that you can get help at the end of the year. You see what the Buccaneers just went through. We done went through that twice, of hoping other people do their job because you didn't do your job. You didn't lace your boots up, and you didn't go out there and you didn't bang heads properly. You didn't sit there and scheme properly. You didn't sit there and manage money properly. You didn't sit there and put an emphasis on making sure that you have depth that is quality and not too far of a drop off when shit does hit the fan. I feel like I'm cooking right now.
You are.
And I swear, I hate is a strong word, so I'm not gonna say it. But I despise the thinking that Zach and Duke have, because you can't sit here. The play calling yesterday was atrocious. You have these type of weapons in your offensive line playing at a decent speed. Yeah, I know Myles Garrett over there, but he didn't get his sack until what, the second half?
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, fourth quarter. You were able to neutralize the biggest thing that they had, but then you turn around and you only put up X amount of points when the amount of points that you should be able to put up should be endless, especially with these weapons. Joe Burrow is top 3 and not 3, in my opinion, and that's just being a little biased. I understand, but there's some people who honestly feel that way. Oh, and then you turn around, You ain't found no formula, and I'll give Al credit with having players who sit here and give up on plays mid-play, don't wrap up tackling. You had a rookie quarterback who has been turning the ball over the last 5 starts that he's had, and you were able to create turnovers, but you weren't able to capitalize off of those on offense. While we're in despair, add insult to injury, we're about to lose more than we're about to gain, honestly. You don't know what Shamar Stewart is going to be, and let's be real. You hope that Myles Murphy has hit his turning point and will be an 8 to 10 sack guy next year, hopefully. But the top teams in the NFL that I know, if you don't have a guy who is 13, 14 sacks deep at the end of the year, you at least have a combination where it's a 50, 60 sack season, because you have guys across the board on the defensive line contributing to that total. No, you don't. We have spurts. And I appreciate Al for putting up a fight yesterday. I appreciate him putting up a fight against New England, even though there was some third down conversions that was like, what the fuck are you doing? Buffalo is the only one where I sit there, I'm like, Al and Joe, both y'all fucked up. You shit the bed, honestly. God damn, I said I wasn't gonna cuss a lot today, bruh. That's the only game where I'm like, bro, I don't know what the hell you had planned or what you planned on doing. I don't know what coverage you decided to call, why that was a good idea in your brain. I don't know. Just for a summary of everything that I've said, now that you have an idea of what you need to fix, you're not gonna change and get new people to have new voices in the locker room. I wanted new blood. We're not gonna get it. With that being said, I guess you got to deal with what you have and move forward. Please hit it on the draft, because if you don't, it's going to be ugly.
We got over 200 of y'all watching us live. We greatly appreciate y'all right now for spending your morning with us and obviously discussing everything through. If you guys can do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. Again, this is our last morning show of the year. We still have State of the Jungle, the final State of the Jungle of the season, this Wednesday at 7 p.m. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to be starting the off-season content in full swing, talking about potential targets for the Bengals. I'm curious to see if the Bengals make any personnel moves in terms of the coaching staff, or is everything status quo and expected to return? We shall see on that. But, Daniel, how did the Bengals move forward, man, in its current spot with Zac Taylor returning as the head coach? We obviously know, hey, the expectation is probably going to be aggressive in free agency. You know, I just put a tweet out. I really feel like Duke Tobin's about to no longer be the de facto general manager. I think he's going to wind up getting the general manager tag. I really believe that. But on top of all of that, I want to get your thoughts, man. Like, do you think that maybe the thought process when it comes to the Bengals is, okay, we get forward, maybe we give, since we're giving them more responsibility, maybe they give Dan Pitcher full play calling duties, allow Zac Taylor to be the head coach of the team and focus on obviously the ins and out of the team, right? The game management aspect, the things that so many of us have said, hey, has been something that has, hurt him, I would say. I'm just curious to see what your thoughts on how this team can move forward.
Yeah, this is a shitty position. And I want to start by saying the organization, in my opinion, is to blame, because I think they're putting themselves in a terrible position. The reason why I say this, I understand when Bengals fans say they don't want to pay him an extra year. All the great teams that have to make a change are willing to do that. The Philadelphia Eagles with Doug Peterson, they had 2 to 3 years left on this contract. They canned him when it was time, brought in Nick Sirianni. How you can move forward, and this is where I get concerned, is because Zac Taylor has 1 year left on his contract, right? If I take out my negativity right now and take out my realness, well, there's a chance they do good next year. And this is where I can see what the Bengals' thought process is. Sure. This is a team that realistically, if you flip a couple games last year, they're in the playoffs, and maybe that team runs the table. If Joe Burrow's healthy this year, maybe they sneak into the playoffs if he was healthy. you got to get lucky. And I think that's where the Bengals thought process is, hey, listen, we know what our baseline is. We have Joe Burrow, we have Ja'Marr Chase, we have T. Higgins. We have an offense that is going to be an elite offense. So if we make some pieces and moves here and there, we go and get a pass rusher, we go and get, an interior defensive lineman, we go and hit on that top 10 pick, because listen, we haven't had a top 10 pick forever. That guy is going to change our defense. We have another top 40 pick. If you want my honest opinion, I think the status quo is the status quo. And I think they head into next season looking at this season as I put it in the past. We got Joe Burrow at the helm. We know what our offense can do. And let's try to do the same thing we've been trying to do the past 3 seasons. I think it's a messed up way to look at it. I don't know if they're going to go make this big change. But to be honest with you, Malik, I think there's a world they make the playoffs. And I think that that's probably the scariest thought, because what happens if they make the playoffs? Are you firing Zac Taylor after they make the playoffs? I don't know. So if you want my answer on what will change this offseason, if they're rolling with Zac Taylor, I think the status quo is the status quo. I think they look at it and they say, hey, all right, our defense played a lot better towards the end of the season. We know we have some cornerstones in DJ Turner and Dax Hill. Myles Murphy's played a lot better. We hope Shamar Stewart performs. We got, Jordan Battle playing great. We have a top 10 pick that's going to be allocated to the defense. Our offensive line is looking a lot better. I think they just look at that and say, hey, let's run it back next year. So I'm not doubting that the Bengals are going to make some moves in free agency, but if I'm looking at the Bengals and their thought process here, I firmly believe in my heart, they feel that they are extremely close. I feel in their heart that they are right there. They just need a little more luck to go this way. And that's what I got from Zac Taylor's press conference. I got from this ownership on how they move. In my heart, I feel the Bengals feel that they are this close. We are going to keep doing the same thing over and over. But what do you say that the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I don't doubt that they're going to go and maybe get a solid free agent. Maybe they go out and get Jalen Phillips. Maybe they go out and get a safety that we like. I think they're going to make some good moves in free agency. I think that they're going to take a very good pick with top 10, because it is not difficult to miss or to hit on a top 10 pick. So I think we're going to head into the season saying, okay, they made some decent moves. Okay, we got Joe Burrow. We got Ja'Marr Chase. We got T. Higgins. We got a good offensive line. This is the year. And that is where I am concerned, because where does that put you if it doesn't work out? So like I said, I think that by doing this show, I've appreciated doing this show, and it's been a blessing, to cover this team and to see the ins and outs and see the opinions of you and your thought process and hear everybody's opinion. I'm just at the point where I feel like they're just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So, and listen, I don't doubt that it's that they can't put a good product on the field, because listen, every single offseason heading into the season, I'm going to be honest, I thought that they had a chance to win the Super Bowl. This year, I thought that they had a chance to win the Super Bowl. Last year, I thought they had the chance to win the Super Bowl. The year before, I thought they had the chance.
Why are you lying?
I did. I'm going to be honest.
You saw the defense.
I'm going to be honest. I thought they had a chance to make the playoffs this year. And with Joe Burrow, listen, if Joe Burrow's in the playoffs, I think that team has a chance to win any playoff game.
One thing I want to get to really quick, because I don't want to lose train of thought, guys.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking, Malik, what does that mean to be the GM, general manager? Does he now get to negotiate contracts and manage the true salary cap? So I'm going to explain this a little bit. So as for most organizations, the general manager spearheads the contract negotiations, the player acquisition. Duke Tobin's title right now is just director of player personnel, which means he's in charge of the personnel on the team, which means the scouts report to Duke Tobin. It's a lot of that, but not as much of that. You think about the family are the ones that are negotiating the contracts, and the Blackburns and Katie and Troy, they're all in that building, all in that room. And so typically speaking, you don't really have a requirement like the Buffalo Bills or another team like Atlanta to speak to the general manager, because there's no one to really hold accountable. It's just that weird cloud. It's obviously Zac Taylor as the head coach. And then after Zac Taylor works hand in hand with the director of player personnel, but the director of player personnel is not actually general manager. So if you want any answers, you want to talk to the front office, you typically would want to hear from Mike Brown or Kate, but you're not going to hear from a 90-year-old Mike Brown at this point. So there's nobody that's really a liaison that the fan base and media is hearing from, right? There's no liaison between the family, the owners. Let's call them what it is, not the family, because I feel like when we say the family, we're talking like a mob. But there's a disconnect in terms of what the family's thoughts are, right? So then you get Zac Taylor answering questions that he shouldn't be answering, when those questions, like Trey Hendrickson's contract, all that kind of stuff like that, should not be Zac Taylor questions. Those should be the general manager questions. Those aren't general manager questions because the Bengals don't have a general manager. So therefore you're saying, okay, well, let's wait for the combine or mock turtle soup day to then speak to Mike Brown, Duke Tobin, yada, yada, all that, right? But at that point, on mock turtle soup day or whatever, whenever Duke Tobin, you hear from Duke Tobin and the family, you don't really care too much what Duke Tobin has to say because you want to hear from the owners. You want to talk to the owner as much as possible. So now, guess what? If you give Duke Tobin the general manager title, he is now at the forefront of those decisions, right? He is the person that you would blame. And the reason why I come to this thought process that Duke Tobin is probably going to shed the de facto general manager title is because 3 guys that are in the front office were promoted to assistant general manager. Okay, the assistant general manager reports to who? The general manager, who is the general manager of the Bengals. I don't know in the history of the Bengals if they've actually had assistant general managers. So to me, I would not be shocked that on Friday, when you hear from Duke Tobin, you're now hearing from the Bengals general manager, Duke Tobin. And then from there, because think about it. They're putting him at the forefront to speak to the media on Friday, which means he is going to have to lay the foundation as to how this offseason is going to play out. You would only do that if you are the general manager or someone of significant decision-making. The family is not going to come out there, right? The owners are not going to come out and speak to the media like Jimmy Haslam is doing today with the Cleveland Browns. So you put the next person in line out there, which would be the general manager of the team. The family has never been this scrutinized and under this much fire.
Yeah.
So let me go a little further. By doing this, nothing might change. Let me just say this. By doing this, nothing might change. But you know what it does do?
What?
It makes Bengals fans and media think that they're open to change, that structurally we are going to reorganize the dynamic in the organization. They might not have any intention on doing that because I believe in my heart, they still believe Duke Tobin currently is the general manager of the team. But because of the outcry for more scouts, the outcry for, right, the layout of this team, the team might say, you know what? I know what might shut people up. We're going to give Duke Tobin the general manager title. And then Bengals fans say, they were open to change. They officially gave Duke Tobin the general manager title. So now the blame can't be placed on Katie. The blame can't be placed on Elizabeth. The blame can't be placed on Mike. Now the blame gets placed on Duke Tobin, right, as the general manager, and Zac Taylor as the head coach. That is why Duke Tobin, in my opinion, is speaking in front of the media on Friday for the first time outside of a setting like the NFL Combine or mock turtle soup day. I think Duke Tobin will be the general manager of the Cincinnati Bengals. Structurally, will anything change? I have no idea, but it will get less pressure off the team because the Bengals, since Mike Brown has taken over, they have never had someone with the general manager title. It's always been the family, always been a tight-knit group. And it feels like Duke Tobin will be the first general manager in should I say Bengals history?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Tim.
what's acceptable to you next season as far as team success, as far as record, as far as path, to solidify the idea that we're not going to make any huge changes and we're basically running it back?
You're asking,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. What would be considered successful to you next season to make this justifiable for what the hell we're doing right now?
Returning back to the playoffs and making a run. That would be
Deep
considered
playoff run.
a deep playoff run. And I'm talking about AFC Championship.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, you gotta win at least one playoff.
So we're all in agreement that minimal should be AFC Championship game, right?
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen,
well, the Bengals are laying the foundation right now.
Yeah, you see where I'm going?
Yeah, no, hear me out. They're laying the foundation right now. I hope everybody's paying attention to this. They're laying the foundation for a soft exit from Zac Taylor and Duke Tobin if they do not go. Listen, one thing about me is I understand power and I understand the power dynamics. I understand certain things that they do. In my opinion, I could be wrong, guys, because I don't know it all. I think that they're setting it up this way. Duke Tobin, that's why they put out a statement of support for they put out a message of support for Zac Taylor. They put out a message of support for Duke Tobin. They've never grouped them in together. They've never even mentioned Duke Tobin really in his vision. They squarely, I know the media has always said Duke Tobin's one of the leaders, but they officially have said we trust in the leaders of our team and their vision. The director of player personnel of no team ain't got no damn vision. Your job is to do your job. But the general manager has a vision. So here's what I think. I think that they're setting them up. They group them together. That means if Zach's gone, Duke's gone.
Package deal.
Package deal. Got
you.
Zac Taylor has another year remaining on his contract, right?
Okay.
Because it runs through 2020. Did they say
7?
So it ends at the end of the 2026 season.
Yes.
Right? I think if they don't make the playoffs, they would make changes then. But how are they going to sell it to the fan base? Because you got to understand, the Brown family also are now in market mode. How can we market this to the fan base? And here's how we market it to the fan base. We promote Duke Tobin to general manager, right? We make them believe that, hey, and maybe they actually believe that.
Right.
Duke Tobin is now the general manager title. Him and Zach are working hand in hand. They're going to rebuild the defense. They're going to do all this stuff like that. They're going to add talent. If that does not work,
right,
then they will change, outwardly to the fan base. But structurally, what's going to be sold to the Bengals is new leadership, even though the same old leadership, even though the old leadership is still the new leadership, right? But that to me is going to be their selling point.
So my whole point with asking that question was, now that we've laid the fine print, and I think people in the chat today have said the same thing, that the expectation is deep playoff run. Essentially, making the playoffs should be bare minimum. It's like getting a girl flowers on Valentine's Day. That you're expecting that, but if you're saying that they're laying the pilot out to lay both of Zach and Duke down and sail them off into the sunset, whatever the case is, that opens up my mind for the idea that we might see the most money spent by the Bengals front office that we've seen in a long time dispersed throughout the roster this offseason than we ever have. And I know I've been calling them cheap, but if you're going to have that philosophy, and this is the final year of Zach, with the contract, because he's basically playing for his job. He's coaching for his job this year. If you're doing that, then we're going to see changes as far as because we talked about development of players, position coaches. There might be changes there. Offensive line played way better than what I would have, what I could have imagined at the beginning of the year. Could we all agree on that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. Defensive line, I don't know who that coach is necessarily. I'm sorry for my lack of
Jerry Montgomery. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if he's going to be back. Because there needs to be more creativity with pass rush. And then secondary, how do y'all feel about that? The secondary, how do you think they played? Middle of the pack, good?
Well, they're fine. I mean, the cornerbacks, I think that's the biggest selling point is those two definitely had a major jump this season.
Okay. All right. So with all that taken into consideration, we have points where you can sit there and say, you know what? If we bring veteran leadership into certain positions, we say starting off with the defensive line, you need to make a splash play. And then you need to have a veteran presence on the other side at defensive end number 2. And then you can have Myles Murphy, because do you want to go into next year with Myles Murphy as your DE1? I'm not completely confident in that. I feel like you'll be doing the same shit different day. So there's a method to the madness, and I can kind of understand it once you guys, and I look back and I hear you guys talk about how it's basically a package deal with Duke and Zach. It literally has to be the idea that you spend enough money and you bring in enough talent to make this defense go from 32nd in the league to 16 or 18. It has to be that way. If you give Joe Burrow a middle of the pack defense, I think we go 12 wins this year, honestly. But if that isn't the case and we don't end up spending that, we're basically about to go through the same shit we went through last year or this year. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
right now?
no, you're making sense. And I mean, like I said, I think that's where, you guys and Malik, I think you brought up the great point that they're laying the foundation. That's where, us being critical, and I'm being critical. I just think it's a poor way to look at it. I think that it's a poor way to lay the foundation for, hey, all right, if we do bad next year, Zach is probably gone. Because if you're even having that thought process, that's
About
not
being
your
bad?
guy.
Yeah, facts.
That ain't your guy. So this is how the Bengals are operating, and it sucks. It really does. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. I'm curious to see the questions that are asked to Duke Tobin on Friday on his press conference at 1 p.m., but we already know what the answers are going to be. So this is a point of the NFL offseason where it's tough looking at other teams that are making changes, that are making moves, and it's tough looking at your team with how much potential this team has, that you're going to do the same exact thing. So like I said, I'm excited to talk about the offseason. I'm excited to talk about these moves that you can make in free agency. I just don't know what the major splash is going to be that potentially saves Zach Taylor's job. And I'm curious to hear, you guys and Malik, you're touching on the Duke Tobin thing. I'm curious to see if they would actually move off of Duke Tobin. And
that's such a far stretch.
That's where I'm excited to see this, because I hope that they change. And God damn it, I hope that they perform well next year. But my final thoughts on this, man, is this has been a piss poor run of 3 years. And it feels like this Bengals team, they're laying the foundation in those, in that quote from Mike Brown, he said they were winning seasons, but these were 3 piss poor seasons. Not like this year was even 9-8, bro. You were 6-11. I no, it's the truth, because for as bad as this was, and when Joe Burrow was returning, I didn't even expect this. I expected them to go on a run. I expected them to finish what
it shows you how bad
9-8
is.
8-9. But this was a 6-11 football team. And in my opinion, I don't think you're going to get to the heights that you want to reach unless you make a major change. And I just hope when we get to that point, I hope it's not too late, because you don't know what you have until it's gone. And the Bengals, they've got something good with Burrow, with Ja'Marr Chase. They've got something great with those guys.
Yeah.
And I really hope that we're not in a place in 5 years saying, man, 2024, remember that team that they had in 2024? Remember that season that Ja'Marr Chase had? Remember those, him leading the league in receptions? I hope we're not in a place looking at these empty stats as what they are, empty stats right now. So
I saw 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the comments say that we shouldn't, no more talk of being middle of the pack as far as the defense goes. Shouldn't have that mentality. I completely agree. I understand. We want the best in order to beat the best, but we have to be realistic and also just honest with ourselves about who is actually pulling the trigger on these players, on handing out checks, on creating a draft board. You have to be realistic with who it is. The optimism that I have is kind of like, I almost feel like we have Tom Brady. Yeah, I know that's wild to say. Calm down. I'm not saying he is Tom, What I'm saying is he has that type of effect to make those around him that good. So with that being said, if you give him just a sliver of a defense, give him the ball back 4 or 5 more times. Now, what I will say is this, because Joe is not he's not such a high standard in my head to where I can't criticize him. Because Buffalo game, that's on you, Joe. I know you had to play damn near perfect. That was a combination of everybody. But I'll say 2 turnovers wasn't gonna cut it. There's yesterday, I feel like there was, and that's also why I want Zach the fuck out of here. Because the creativity, there is none. When it comes to the offense, it was stale yesterday almost. I could sit here and call out. I got a little cousin who could call out a better sequence of plays than what Zach is drawing up week in and week out. There's been times where it feels like, oh, we just can't get anything in a groove on offense for, it seemed like, quarters at a time, halves at a time, where it's like we have to score. We've had plenty of games where we have first drive touchdowns, then we have spurts where it's like 2-3 possessions without even putting up a field goal. That is not okay. And there's been games this year where the defense has started out fantastic. The Ravens game at home, the playoff game basically that we had, the defense held the Ravens, I want to say, to 7 points for the first quarter and a half. You got to capitalize on it. And you didn't do shit with it. You didn't do anything that scared defenses straight, besides having the names of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on the other side, and T. Higgins being who T. Higgins is. The offense wasn't the issue from personnel wise. It was schematic wise. It was the inability to create mismatches with personnel that you have. We didn't do enough of running the ball, to be honest with you, this year. And there was times where we got pass happy when we shouldn't have. And you putting Joe in a hard spot to come back after injury and basically ask him, all right, well, lead us on a playoff run, and we really have only 1 loss as far as wiggle room to do this. At the end of the day, we had this there's these conversations that have happened last year and happened the year before. We're going to keep having this optimism. We're going to sit here and be like, you know what? Next year should be better. We should be looking forward to more improvement as far as personnel in the building. It's the same shit. We're going to have the same conversation. It's the same problem that we had last year. Do you understand? Same. It's the same shit, not an equivalent. It's the same exact thing as last year. I'm not emphasizing this enough. It's the same shit, different year.
Yep.
And we're about to sit here and we possibly are going to come up with a better draft board than what the fuck they about to have in their offices.
Amen. You know, at the end of the day, again, we can sit up here and talk about it till we're blue in the face. We know that we've devoted the first hour and 3 minutes of the show talking about it. Again, something's got to give. Something's got to give in terms of the way they structurally do things, the way the decision makings are brought down. Something's got to change, and obviously being more aggressive. Not just this offseason. Don't use offseason where people are, outcrying for you to do X, Y, and Z. Be aggressive every offseason. Always look inwardly at your roster, not just when it suits you, not just when it benefits you. You have a glaring need from a pass rushing standpoint. You have a glaring need at the safety spot. You have a glaring need, getting some veteran linebackers in here. You need to bring back Dalton Risner, make him a priority free agent. You need to get extremely better on the interior pass rush. You need guys that are going to be able to push the pocket and help some of these young edge rushers. Do you bring Joseph Ossai back? I got to think Dave Mogeta, athletes first, are going to want Joseph Ossai to cash in on a big deal, considering he is possibly one of the best young edge rushers on the free agency market, not named 𝗦𝗡𝗎𝗏. So, for me, it's, again, you have a depth issue. You have questions that you need figuring out, answers you need figuring it out. And to me, it's they have to truly look inward if they're going to truly go out there and and fix this thing. If you guys do us a favor, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I wanted to touch on when it comes to the Bengals process that I have not touched on? I feel like I've touched on
Everything,
right? I mean, I feel like it's just about being aggressive year over year over year and looking at this thing.
This was a detailed convo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you fire Al Golden? Do you think?
Nah.
Probably keep him, right? Because Zach
I
Taylor's
saw
head coach.
improvements, bro. He's got a young group. And to be honest,
Because who would, and that would be, I guess that would be my question, right? Because this would be a Zach Taylor call. Who would Zach bring in if
One of his
it's
buddies.
not Al Golden, right? And that's why I don't have the answer, and that's where I would put some of the blame on Zach. Like, if you had a better repertoire of guys, maybe you could move off of Al Golden, but who the hell is Zach Taylor going to call?
Well, because you got to look at it. Well, Cincinnati is one of the most secure jobs in the NFL. It is. But from a coordinator's standpoint, well, do you want to tie yourself to this staff that has now moved off of Lou Anarumo and now moved off of Al Golden after 1 year? I don't think that's a winning recipe. I think they could look at secondary coaches personally and figure out, okay, maybe we need to get better on that front. Maybe we can bring guys in here that can get the most out of this unit. Guys, you know, I can't shake this feeling though. And I know we're not talking about draft stuff just yet, but I got to bring this up. You know, you look at all the pieces that will probably be drafted. The Bengals are slotted in at the 10th overall pick.
right. And you're not moving from there.
They're not moving. Not unless they did what they did a couple years ago and they traded back and drafted Billy Price, but a whole nother discussion. Here's what I think about for a second. I really hope they get this pick right.
Yep.
Like, I know that's easy to say, but like,
It's crucial.
if guys like Caleb Downs or guys like, there's so many I could even choose from, or off the board, guys that Bengals fans are gushing over.
Mhm.
I really hope, because has Orlando Brown been that bad that you'd move off of him?
No.
Because I really hope they don't get to the 10th overall pick and say, hey, you know what, we're going to draft Caden Proctor.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't get to that draft pick and say, hey, we're going to get, even though we always said, because the reason why I'm coming with this statement is because I don't see enough upgrades defensively in free agency that, not unless you're splurging or you're trading for a guy, I don't see enough that would make me, I don't know, jump. And somebody says safety first round. Crypt keeper. I listen, if Caleb Downs is there, I'd run to the podium, but I just think historically the Bengals haven't valued that position to be drafted first in the first round. They value trench play. They value even cornerback play just a tad bit more.
And you smoke those.
And to me, it's just interesting. Like somebody said, Downs, Bain, Bailey, and Woods. I feel like Ruben Bain is a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
I feel like Ruben Bain is a top 5, top 7 pick. I feel like,
What's the name from Texas Tech? I forget his name.
Bailey.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing with the Ruben Bain too, at that point, like, as much as even if I want to criticize them going for going edge,
Mhm.
that is a guy who has played like a top 5 pick. So if
Yeah.
you get to that spot, he is probably your best player available.
Oh, yeah,
so it's
easily.
not.
You can move him all along the defensive line. He's a game
Arvell
record.
Reese should be gone.
He'll be gone.
Oh.
Yeah, he's good, but he'll be gone.
Yeah. And then you got Mansour Delane. Man,
Yeah.
you know,
Cornerback.
there's a lot, right? There's a
You
lot that
shouldn't
you can
miss this
consider.
pick.
You really should not. But there is a tendency to get fixated on what, again, they always look at from their pockets standpoint. And if they're like, oh, well, Orlando Brown's coming up again free agency because he's got got one more year on his deal. Well, maybe we can jump ahead of it and draft the future replacement.
See, that's that
I
cheap
think,
shit. That's
yeah,
that
I think that would be a very, mistake, you know?
Mhm.
So like, I don't know. It's a lot that goes into it. And there's always that conversation. Somebody said, I don't think the Bengals get enough credit for drafting good running backs. I agree. They do. Hopefully Chase Brown has shown them enough. And, you know, Jeremiah, they don't get to the pick and Jeremiah Love sitting there. And then they're like, oh, we got to do that because you know how they felt about Bijan Robinson. You know, I'm just saying this team is not, I think you've proven, or the Bengals
What was
have
wrong
seen
with
this
Todd
year
Brooks?
is, I think, well, he just hasn't played this much this year. Right. But I think the Bengals have proven that, hey, you know what? we can remake the run game. I think Chase Brown has shown enough to be the starting running back moving forward. I think you're excited about him. He's a true do-it-all back. He's gotten better in pass protection. Holy shit, he's gotten better in pass protection.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it, but I just draft best player available. If Caleb Downs is sitting there staring at you, which feels like he might be a Chief, but if Caleb Downs is sitting there staring at you, man, you run to the podium, right? You don't overthink this thing. You don't say, hey, well, our positional value says certain guys are just unicorns and they're just sitting there and they're staring you down the pipeline. And you say, you know what? I'm going to draft that guy. Peter Woods, there's some things I like about his game, some things I don't love about his game.
Right. I wouldn't do another Clemson defensive lineman.
I don't necessarily even think it has to be
past that stigma.
I don't, but I think that Clemson defensive lineman is now showing you what they can do, right? I think that Clemson defensive line, that Myles Murphy is now showing you what he could do. Somebody says, Malik, you know they won't draft Bailey because he's 6'3".
Yeah.
And that's not their type of edge rusher. You know the sucky part about that is the most success that they've gotten from an edge rusher has been a 6'3", 6'4" guy in Trey Hendrickson. I met Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is not that huge of a guy. He's stout, he's muscular, right? We stand side by side. He's what, 6'3", maybe 6'3" and 3/4.
Doesn't have the longest arms.
And doesn't have the longest. Sometimes you have to break their mold and get out. That's why I'm such a proponent of bringing guys in the building that see it from a different light than you, that have a different view process.
Right? Try new shit.
Yeah. Here's my best thing I'll say. And Gary Jellison said best is Woods needed better college production. You can no longer afford to take guys that, like the 10th overall pick, I'm not drafting a guy that is a maybe.
Yep.
And listen, the draft is a crapshoot. You never know what it's going to be.
Right.
You never know how a player's going to plan out. But I'm no longer going to be drafting guys. You're not in a spot, and you got the 10th overall pick. You're no longer in a spot in which you can take chances on guys with low production and say, well, it'll pan out. You can't do that anymore. You have to get you have to draft the player that is the most shoe-in. And again, there is no such thing as a shoe-in draft prospect. Even the first overall pick is not a shoe-in draft prospect. Fernando Mendoza, no matter what team he goes to, is not a shoe-in game-changing quarterback for any team. He's not that.
You have to have
there's nobody that is like that.
Generational is what they would call
it.
There's no generational talent.
I think Caleb Downs is the closest thing to it. But even then, even those players that we say are generational, Chase Young was looked at as generational, right?
Right.
Well, they still got to come in and perform at the NFL level, and there's always going to be that rookie curve. But what you can try to do when you draft a guy with the first top 15 pick, top 10 pick, is you want to get the guy that will go through the rookie curve, but it's minimal because they've been ready to be a pro. They've been taught how to be a pro. They understand what it's like to be a pro. Caleb Downs is that for me. I feel like the guy understands what it's like to be a pro. I think he impacts the game in so many different ways. You could play him down the box. You could play him as a deep safety. He could take so many different things away.
Return kicks for
he could do it all. I just think I hope they don't get too caught up in their positional value. You have an obvious need, right?
Right.
You have an obvious need. I love this defensive tackle class. I think this defensive tackle class is good. There's going to be a guy you maybe get in the second round, but again, don't get so locked into what where you
you can't have 2 or 3 guys on your board and be like, this is where we are.
Yes.
You don't have a plan after when those guys get, because people get a hunch and draft up all the time.
Well,
y'all see the movie Draft Day. People get a hunch and say, you know what, I'll move up and go grab this guy.
Correct.
Because I felt right.
Correct.
It felt right. But with the Bengals, we have a stuck premises on who we feel like we should grab. And then after that, it's like, all right, well, this is the best player available. And it doesn't even fit a position of need. You need pass rush. And to be honest with you, if you draft a tackle at 10 because you want to get ahead, I thought that was crazy. Because you want to get ahead of a contract. If a guy's been doing his job, pay the man.
I always say draft. I always say draft for the future. Right. And sign free agency for here and now. Yeah. This might be the one year where I say you have a top 10 overall pick. I feel like that would fall. I feel like that would fall usually if you had like a pick in the 20s. But no, this is where you draft impact players. Yeah. To me, this is where you draft the impact player, not named a quarterback, but you go out there and you draft an impact player. And there's certainly going to be impact players at spot 10 in the draft. There are certainly going to be impact players at spot 10 in the draft. For me, you have to have a question with yourself. Okay, Dax Hill, have this conversation real quickly. Is Dax Hill, is he better on the outside? I think he can play outside, personally. I think he's fine there.
Dax, I feel like needs to be on an island, honestly. Right. Yeah.
But that is a question, because for me, if you're going to draft a 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗦𝗓𝗓𝗏,
right.
To me, well, Dax getting moved back into the slot, and we're going to go DJ Turner, 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏, and Dax Hill in the slot.
Yes.
But again, I feel like the path that they go there is Dax Hill, DJ Turner, and then we go with Jalen Davis in the slot. That's what my gut tells me they're going to go with next year. I think that's going to be their unit. I think that you need to make this 10th overall pick so freaking impactful. You need to have a foundational piece, not a guy that's going to have so many question marks. And I don't think he even makes up for the last two. I think Mims is a very good pick. Yeah. I think Mims has the ability to be the best right tackle in the football. I do. And I think he's shown that this season. I think Shamar Stewart is starting to break out. He's starting to flash. However, Shamar Stewart, Myles Murphy can't do it alone. Those are the only pieces on the defensive line.
You have no depth behind those when they get tired.
Cam Sample, free agent.
Yep.
Joseph Ossai, free agent, probably going to look to cash in big. You need a guy in the middle of that defense that is going to be a 𝗧𝗏 that's going to be able to absolutely change the face of your defensive line. Because right now what's happening is you get your edges collapsing, quarterback step up in the pocket, and they're able to either throw the ball or they're able to make a run. Think about Shedeur Sanders, who I don't rate entirely high. Sorry, guys. But Shedeur Sanders was able to step up in the pocket with no problem yesterday when the game needed it most. Now, obviously, there was that fumble they had and guys just barely getting a hand. But I'm tired of these guys I'm tired of the Bengals having these guys that are just very
one-dimensional.
Or they have a lot of the same guys. They have a lot of the same guys. You need a true difference maker. Even if you draft an edge guy and somebody said, great, bro, move Shamar to the inside. I think Shamar on the interior would be amazing.
Yes.
He's an impact player. He can bat the pass down. He can get pressure on the quarterback. But you still, as good as Myles Murphy as an edge as he's been, right?
Right.
I don't ever believe Myles Murphy will be that high-octane guy that gets 12, 13, 15 sacks. You need somebody that consistently – you need somebody that these defense coordinators are going to say, hey, we need to game plan on, because guess what? This guy is an absolute game wrecker. The same light that you talk about some of these other edge rushers, like a TJ Watt, like a Trey Hendrickson, like a Myles Garrett. You need somebody in here that could do it all. Ruben Bain would be that for sure.
And you know,
100% be
you know what, you know what I thought as well, as far as this picking, and I completely agree. I think you brought up a great point about it kind of goes into the idea of Shamar moving on the inside. Yeah. I want Shamar to be as versatile as possible. With being that size and that athletic, I need you to be able to be able to go inside and bull rush, or to sit here and go outside and have some type of back. But with guys all kind of doing the same thing, if you can get in free agency a pass rusher who has veteran presence and can give you 6 to 8 sacks, and then also bang on that number 10 pick to have pass rush, if it is a defensive tackle, I would like him to be able to maybe move over the offensive guard and be able to go ahead and be able to stunt properly, have speed behind him. Now you're sitting here, you're putting defenses, if you're not going to have a true 3-tech at defensive tackle, I think you honestly need to sit here and go with the idea of having guys be able to be versatile and go across the board. When teams start to get a whiff of, okay, this guy is here all the time and they don't move him, you game plan for that. You can start to neutralize that. Now having an opportunity to go into a draft, a number 10 pick, look, you need help at a couple of places. Yeah. I just want you to draft football players. Yeah. I want you to draft professionals. Yeah. Guys where you say the learning curve isn't too much of a hassle. I want the college game to look easy to them. Yes. And then turn around when you get into the NFL, it's like, oh, because you hear it all the time. Oh, this game moves fast as hell. I don't want you to draft the defensive tackle, no matter who it is. I won't single out a name. And then this guy's supposed to be a game-changing player. Let's say you drafted him at 10. But then come week 1, you're still starting BJ Hill. Yes. And freaking McKinley Jackson. I want to know you're like beating people's asses in mini camp.
Yes. You know how Shamar Stewart was getting right before he dealt with the injury, how he was absolutely obliterating the Bengals offensive line. That's how you
in the bubble, he was sitting there getting swat down. They had to tell him to keep his hands off of Joe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that right there, you need to have that, but also have a veteran presence. So if he does start to hit a rookie wall come week, because you got to remember, guys play 12 games, 13, depending on what program you're at. So that's a full what program you're at and that's their full season in college. Now you're getting through week 13 to 17, and it's like, all right, body's starting to break down. How do you take care of yourself? And if you have nothing but young guys in there, their mentality is, I'm in NFL and I'm playing ball. But how do you stay in the NFL?
Right.
What makes you different from the version of you when you walked into week 16 when it's on the line? What bag have you learned? What have you taken away from the game that has made you say, you know what? I got full confidence going into next year saying I'm that motherfucker.
Yeah.
We don't have that mentality, honestly, on the line. And the only person who was Trey. Trey would sit there and he had the leadership. And I keep saying it, I keep pointing this out. If we had Trey, I'm not doing the woodcut shit. Y'all.
But here's the thing: they have close to 100 or upwards to close to $100 million in cap space this year, right? There are so many pieces that if you want to actually fix this thing, you can fix it. It needs to be spent correctly. The right piece needs to be brought in. Respectfully, I'm just gonna rattle off a couple things. Yeah. And some people may not like what I'm gonna say, but I hope that everyone understands where I'm coming from. Why you're saying it, right? Yeah. Cam Taylor-Britt, I'm not even considering bringing him back. That's not even a discussion.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Geno Stone, I'm good off of. I don't care that you don't have a person right there. It'll force you to be that much more aggressive when attacking the position. Yeah. To me, those are some clear-cut moves that I'm making right off of the bat because it's clear that, hey, guess what? They're not the answer. You need to get a veteran linebacker in here. I know Lavonte David is a free agent and all this kind of stuff like that. Maybe he's looking for a change of scenery from Tampa Bay. You just need somebody on a one-year deal that's going to help bring these guys along. It could work. Doesn't necessarily have to be him, but maybe bring a veteran presence in here at a linebacker spot. Yeah, kind of how Josh Bynes was when Josh Bynes was here. He was so integral for guys like Logan Wilson, so on and so forth. You need guys like that are going to be able to elevate this linebacker unit from a veteran standpoint and keep this locker room together. You need veterans that have done it around the league. I would be aggressive in targeting guys like Jalen Phillips. I would be. That would just be a thing for me.
And he's still on the younger side.
I'm not too interested in bringing in guys that are, over a cliff or bringing in guys that won't really compete or guys that really won't push. To me, when you look at it, I think that this Bengals defense, if you're actually going to change this thing, you do need veterans in here, but you need guys, man. You need guys in here that can truly complement. This defensive line needs a complete overhaul. The only two guys you're looking at, you're saying their mainstays is Shamar Stewart and Myles Murphy. Everything else can get remade.
Chris Jenkins, you don't.
I mean, I like Chris Jenkins, but Chris Jenkins isn't stopping me from going out there and adding to the defensive line. To me, it's just too many guys that are similar, right? McKinley Jackson is a fine piece. He's a fine depth piece, but he's not stopping
too much of something is bad.
He's not stopping me from going out there from getting better. Like, we talked about the Ruben Bain. If Ruben Bain's available, that's the easiest pick that I'd make in my life, right? That's the easiest pick that I'd make in my life. I wouldn't think twice about it. To me, you have to look at the roster as a whole. You have to look at every single piece. You have foundational guys. You have Joe Burrow. You have Jamar Chase. You know that you have T. Higgins. You have those guys. What other pieces are of guys, right, do you think you can upgrade at? No team is going to make a huge overhaul in free agency. So guys like Ted Karras, okay, he's back at center, right? Right. You love what you saw from Dylan Fairchild. I mean, all rookie, right?
Bring back Dalton.
You bring back Dalton Reisner. No questions about it. Jalen Rivers is not starting over him. That guy has been consistent. And you have your two tackles, at least for this year. If that's Orlando Brown becomes that big of an issue, figure that out next year because you've seen bad tackle play in Orlando Brown. Again, he's been serviceable. He's been fine for what you ask him to do. Right. So the offensive line is set, which is the craziest thing we've ever said, right? Absolutely. Your running backs are set. I would be bringing back Samaje Perine. I think he was only on a one.
Wide receiver 3.
I'd bring wide receiver 3 is a priority.
Yes.
You have not seen the leaps taken. I know you guys know I'm good friends with Noah Fant and stuff like that. I'm good.
Yeah, best of wishes.
I'd bring in another tight end. I'm not confident in Eric All's future playing career.
Yeah.
Right. And I know Bengals fans are excited to come back.
Hell of a talent.
I just don't know if he's going to come back. And when he does come back, I don't know if it'll be fully what he was.
Right.
You need to make that position a priority. You don't need anyone sexy. You just need someone that can do it all. Can be a utility guy, can block, can catch, can do everything that you ask him to do. That is what you need at the receiving spot. Mike Gesicki is your receiving tight end or your wide receiver 3, no matter what you want to call him. So then guess what? We've discussed all of that. So now you know what we look forward to? We now look at the defense, guys. That is what we look at, right? Because we can agree wide receiver 3 is a positional need, is a strong position.
Has been the same since Tyler.
But the offensive line is strong.
Yes.
You can maybe even add depth there potentially. But from there, at that point, you look at the defense. The defense. I'm going to say it again. The defense. Griffin McQuaid said Eli Stowers. Yes, he's a friend of the show. We're supposed to have him on the show, actually. Eli Stowers would be a great addition for the Bengals in the later rounds, right? Not
tight end from
Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Played with 𝗬𝗢𝗪𝗐𝗐. I'm very good friends with his agent. So, like, again, Eli Stowers is a guy that makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. But, hey, listen, here's where we're going to go. We're going to go to the defensive side of the ball, right?
Right.
And again,
Cardinals fired Jonathan Gannon, by the way.
They fired Jonathan Gannon. Okay, we're going to get to some of the firings that happened as well. But let's talk about this really quickly, okay?
Defense,
so you look at the defensive line. You look at the edge. Myles Murphy, right?
Right.
Myles Murphy, Shemar Stewart.
Got it.
After that, it's a blur. This is just edge right here for me. Cedric Johnson. I like what I saw from Cedric Johnson. So you know what?
Cedric is a baller.
I'm gonna slot Cedric Johnson in as he stays. Cedric Johnson is here.
So all edge guys essentially.
And guess what? 𝗓𝗏. I'm in my head. I think 𝗓𝗏's gone. In my head, I think 𝗓𝗏's gone.
But what are you going with really?
What do you mean? I don't think 𝗓𝗏 is a member of the Bengals next year.
Okay, cool.
I think 𝗓𝗏 is a free agent. That being said, that's fine, right?
Right.
Because I haven't seen enough to make him so big of a priority. You know what I'm saying? So I'm okay with that guy leaving.
We have bigger fish to fry.
Yes.
I get that. I got you.
We're talking about the depth phase because regardless, and I mean, 𝗓𝗏 has to know this too. He's not starting over Shemar or Myles Murphy.
Those guys that you just named right there, those are one of them could be a potential starter. The other one, I think we could consider Myles Murphy a second-round pick. I'm going to be honest.
Regardless of where you get drafted, I'm talking about guys that will be here next year right now. Right. And I look at Cam Sample. I think Cam Sample's a free agent. Yeah. He's not a priority guy for me.
No.
Right?
Right.
Joseph Ossai, as much as people want, I think his agent's going to ask for the bag. He had another good year. He's not a priority guy for me. He's going to look at what he had 5 sacks this year, I think. He's going to look at that and say, hey, last year I had 5 sacks or 7 sacks or whatever I had. Hey, if I get more starting time and not get rotated in when the guys, I could be a true starter in this league. And I look at the numbers I could put out. He's going to probably try to look to go somewhere else. His agent, 𝗦𝗫𝗓, probably try to get him a big bag because the only thing that made sense for him last year was the 1-year deal when you factor in injuries. Okay, so that being said, what's after that?
Dax Hill.
No. I'm talking about I'm still on the edge.
You said
I'm still on the edge right now.
Oh, wow.
What's after that? To me, you remake that room. To me, and the guys that I'm adding are not guys that are, I'm adding guys that will truly come in and give you whatever that next guy is, whatever you're losing when that guy goes to the bench, this guy is able to replace it with that or something even better. Maybe he's a pass rush specialist. Maybe he's great at setting the edge. Maybe he's a good run stuff, whatever the case may be. That's where a guy like Jaelan Phillips is very intriguing to me. He's a guy that you can move all along the defense of a defensive line.
Right.
To me, that makes me excited. I think Jaelan Phillips does a lot of good things. I think Jaelan Phillips could push for a starter. I think Jaelan Phillips could be a starter. And if you were able to go out and get a Jaelan Phillips, you know what you could do? Guess what? Jaelan Phillips and Shemar Stewart have very similar skills, right? Jaelan Phillips, you can kick Jaelan Phillips on the inside, or you can kick Jaelan Phillips on the edge. Why does that excite me? Because guess what? On third down passer situations, you can move Jaelan Phillips. You can move Shemar Stewart to Jaelan Phillips on the inside. You can move, Shemar on the outside, Jaelan Phillips on the inside, and then whoever that defensive tackle.
Line them up on the same side.
To me, that is a game-changing type. This defensive line needs somebody that is going to bring something different.
Yes.
Shemar Stewart and Myles Murphy is fine. He's able to power rush his guy through, throw his tackle down, right?
He learns
but
how
you need
to bend and
you need somebody that can extend the pressure because of the way they're able to push the pocket, set the edge, get up under swim moves. That's what you need. That's what Jaelan Phillips provides you. I think Jaelan Phillips and Shemar Stewart are similar. I think Jaelan Phillips isn't as fast or quick twitch as Shemar or as explosive, but I think they provide similar stuff. To me, I think that the reason why I'm so caught up on the Jaelan Phillips thing, he shouldn't cost you a crap ton, but he's a guy, right? He's a guy that I think you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We talk about the interior pass rush. He provides that. Talk about the edge pass rush. He provides that. You kill two birds with one stone.
And
so
he looked
therefore-
great coming off that Achilles as well.
Correct. To me, that's why that makes sense for a lot of reasons. So then for me, I don't even have to factor. I can, if you were to sign a Jaelan Phillips, you don't have to then go out there and make defensive tackle that big of a huge priority in free agency. Am I wrong in saying that, Daniel? I'm saying with the name.
Yeah.
I'm saying with the name because I want to simplify this. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
I want to simplify it with the names that are available. If you go out there and you sign a Jaelan Phillips, you can then wait for the draft because there's not a game-changing, not unless you're bringing DJ Reader back. There is not a game-changing defensive tackle that you're saying. Now, are you going to sign Christian Wilkins? Is that what you're doing? Are you going out after that guy? If that's the case, I'm fine with it. If he's fully healthy, I'm fine with it. But again, I'm not trying to hem and haw. I'm trying to get solutions.
Yeah.
If you sign Shamar Stewart, I'm sorry. If you sign Jaelan Phillips, he does kill two birds with one stone.
I think that makes Shamar Stewart an impact on the inside. I think that's where it would have to be. I think you would head into the season saying, hey, on third down, instead of having that 3-tech, that Geno Atkins type, that's Shamar Stewart. And if that's the thought process, I'm cool with it because then you can say, hey, Jaelan Phillips on the edge, Shamar Stewart on the inside.
That's what I agree.
No, I'm cool with it. I just don't think I don't fully buy into hey, I like rotating the guys. I think that would say, hey, Shamar Stewart, his impact is going to be from the interior if you sign Jaelan Phillips. And I'm cool with that because I think we've seen success with that.
I'm being real with you. I watch a lot of Jaelan Phillips football. He gets moved to the inside as well.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
He gets moved a lot to the inside. He is a guy that they have moved all along the defensive line.
Yeah.
He hadn't been used like that the last year and a half. Obviously, the injury, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that has been moved to the inside. He can rush the passer from the inside and from the edge. He can do it all. It also puts you in a spot in which if you're so gung-ho on McKinley Jackson and TJ Slayton and all those guys, well, you can still keep those guys, especially on rundowns, right? But you can almost run a NASCAR package to essentially on third and long situations with those guys. But I think those guys would easily come in. I think Shamar would give you more than BJ Hill. I think Jaelan Phillips will give you more than BJ Hill on the interior.
Yes.
And you could say, hey, whatever drive, depending on what it is, depending on maybe it's matchup dependent. Maybe one guy's having more success than the other guy. Hey, maybe we move that guy to the edge. That's just where my mind.
I agree.
That's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
Right. So then you look at linebacker, right? We already talked about adding a veteran linebacker. That's something you need to do. I have been okay with the returns that I've seen from Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter. All things considered, I think that they've shown you enough. So then guess what? You move to cornerback. Okay. Your two cornerbacks are Dax Hill, DJ Turner, Jalen Davis. Who else?
Nobody. Marco Wilson, whatever.
Oh, going back to before we start to demolish this entire secondary. TJ Slayton back next year?
Yes, he's signed a 2-year deal.
Yep.
Yeah. I think he showed you enough.
He's good. I like TJ.
Unless you're bringing back DJ Reader, there's no need to move off of him. The money is minimal.
Okay. All right.
Right. Again, it was one of those contracts where the first, like the Bengals like to do their contracts, first year guaranteed, the second year no guarantee. So again, it's like one of those things where if you decide to move off of him, you move off of him and it makes sense. I want to look up something and
then y'all said go ahead and look that up. But my question, so as far as locks for the secondary, you have Dax Hill, you have DJ Turner, and
at cornerback, there's nothing.
Is that it?
I mean, Jalen Davis, sure, yeah.
Jalen wasn't terrible for the opportunities he got. I saw something. Josh Newton, is he gone?
Yeah, he's under contract.
He's
so
under contract.
He'll probably be
2 years,
here.
right?
He'll probably be here, but like that's
not a game changer for me.
No.
That's not what we're trying to do is stop the fucking bleeding. Okay. So at this
he's
point, I just need
turnover.
turnovers. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So again, all we got is DJ Turner and Dax Hill, and then a safety. Geno can pack his bags. Cool. We're good with that. All right. Yeah. Nobody said anything, so I'm assuming we're good with that shit. And then Jordan Battle, has he shown you enough to be your starter? So yes, he. All right, cool. So you got Jordan Battle, DJ Turner, and Dax Hill. After that, is that 3 names?
Yeah. That's it. I mean, and listen, like we can discuss. Like I said, Jalen Davis is a.
Oh, and Jalen Davis.
Jalen Davis has
names.
shown up. Yes.
After that, you really don't have anything where you're like, Dejon Anthony really didn't turn out to do anything, or he didn't show enough apparently to be put in critical moments again.
I mean, even looking at the guys that are under contract for next year, it is DJ Turner, Dax Hill, DJ Ivey, and Josh Newton at the cornerback position. So, like DJ Ivey and Josh Newton are cool as depth pieces. All right, you can talk about them as
DJ Ivey has never been terrible to me.
And then same thing with safety. You're heading into next year. Right now on the roster, Jordan Battle and Dejon Anthony.
Yeah,
that's it. So
𝗬𝗏𝗎𝗓𝗏 is gone. So your first look. Here's the problem that we've had as Bengal fans, but not even Bengals fans, because this ain't about us.
Well, we cover the team.
The team.
I don't want to minimize. I don't minimize. Yes, I root for the Bengals. I just want to see the Bengals do well. But we cover this team. We watch film. We do everything in power. I don't want to say my opinion. I'm not saying that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
is not fan speculative. I'm going strictly off of.
And I'll take it a step, and I'll take it a step further. For the NFL, problem that usually happens is, are you prepared for shit to go bad?
Yep.
When it does go bad, do you have the depth pieces, and is there a far drop off in talent? Right. So where we're at right now is, okay, you have the two guys at safety, Dejon and Jordan, and then at cornerback you have Dax, you have DJ, you have Ivy, and you have Newton. Mm-hmm. If one of those first two guys and DJ Turner or Dax Hill go down, you're putting basically guys who've had, I don't even think 10 games of total experience put on the field against number ones and number twos. So that would be a part to emphasize in the draft. I say this: you get one guy from the draft and one guy from free agency for these pieces of the roster, and you build it that way. You got to bring in veteran presence, because some of these guys have never been in situations that they're going to possibly be in. If we were to play another game today with guys expired contracts off, if they weren't available, the guys that we have, we would be cooked, soufflé.
Yeah, and Cheesy Rider said, whose starter do you think should be or needs to be replaced the most? It's probably the Geno Stone spot, and that's where the conversation for me is a little difficult, because what do you head into the season or head into the draft with, right? Is it Geno Stone? And that's where I am. This may be against what even you guys are saying, even what the fan base is saying. I may not be against signing Geno Stone. And the reason why I say that is I don't know if I'm going to go out there as the Bengals and sign a big-time free agent at the safety spot because of the potential of a Caleb Downs or a Kamari Ramsey. Because at that point, if you sign a big-time free agent at the safety position, you're probably locking them in for 2 to 3 years. And if I'm drafting Downs or Ramsey, those guys are starting, at least for sure Downs, he's starting day one. So I do think that there is a possibility that Geno could be back, because let's say, hey, if you re-sign Geno to a 1-year deal, then everybody for that month and a half period will be pissed off. How the hell is Geno Stone our starter? And if you draft Caleb Downs, Caleb slots in as your safety 1 and Geno's a backup. Or Kamari Ramsey, you get him in round 2 and Geno Stone starts the year off in the first 3 weeks and Kamari Ramsey takes over. So that's where my opinion on the safety conversation is right now. You need a major upgrade at that spot. But am I making that the number 1 priority over the defensive line? In my opinion, probably not, because I see the potential for the draft. So I do think, and this may be against what some Bengals fans want, I don't think it is the worst possibility to bring him back on a 1-year, $3 million contract, to be honest.
Look, I disagree with that heavily, and here's why.
Yeah.
You show me what you already are capable of doing. And my thing is, I would rather go with somebody I would give money to. If I'm going to pay you, I at least want you to give effort. There's only 2 games this year where you could look at Geno Stone and say, you know what, I got maximum effort from you, and you played your ass off. That was the New England game, and then He didn't play bad against the Ravens, but there was plays where he gave up on pursuit.
Yep.
And that's my thing. I'd rather take a guy who doesn't know really too much, if at all, and he's just giving 100% effort compared to a guy who knows that he keeps getting brought back for doing minimal shit. No, I don't want Geno Stone back. What I'll do is Caleb Downs is your number one. Number two, I will go find somebody who you can sign for a 2-year, $6 million deal.
Okay.
It's not a lot of money being used, but if Geno, who's our starter, contributed to our fucking defense being ranked 32nd in pass yards allowed at 323 per game, please miss me with that shit. I'm cool on that.
So yeah.
I understand that there's a Caleb Downs number one, and Geno can be backup. I don't want the same shit in the room because we just talked about lack of depth. Yeah. If shit goes bad, and God forbid if we draft Caleb Downs and he gets hurt, God, I'm gonna be hurt. Damn near feel like I'm losing a pet. Then you turn around and you got to go back to Geno Stone. That's insult to injury. So I'm cool on that.
Totally. And that's where, I mean, if we look at the free agents, to be honest, and that's just where I say I'm not paying Kyle Duggar or Jimmy Ward or Andre Cisco. I'm not paying a safety.
Especially if you're grabbing Caleb Downs.
Right. Exactly. So I do think that if they're going to go the route, maybe you go out and you get a guy like Alohi Gilman or even Donovan Wilson. You get one of these guys for, $3 to $4 million. I'm cool with that.
Tony Adams, terrible.
Tony Adams. Yeah, he's fine. That's where I'm at. I think if you go out and get a replacement for that $3 to $5 million range, I'm cool with that. So yeah.
And again, we'll have all offseason to talk more about, obviously, free agent signings and moves that the Bengals can make in the offseason. Let's keep the conversation rolling really quickly. I want to briefly just touch on these things. So a couple coaches got fired. Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot, the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, are both out. We got Pete Carroll out, Kevin Stefanski out. I was preparing to talk about these things a little bit more in detail. I said Pete Carroll, right?
Yeah.
And now Jonathan Gannon out.
Jonathan Gannon, yeah.
A lot of coaches changes. A lot of coaches didn't believe in staying the course. The Raheem Morris one, I understand it. The pressure, obviously, trading a first-round pick felt a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but I understand they want to win. And I accept that. I understand it. Pete Carroll thing. I think Pete Carroll is a good football coach. I think he was given not the greatest of things to work with, but it didn't, hasn't worked out. I felt like Pete Carroll was always considered to be like, I guess we'll sign him, right? When they weren't able to land a Ben Johnson last year. Stefanski, I feel like the Browns made a wrong decision there. I think that Stefanski's going to wind up being going to land on his feet and be a fine head coach. Yeah. I think that'll actually be a good fit for the Raiders personally. So again, that's just my thoughts on it, man. I don't want to, I don't want to touch on it too much. I'm a little shocked that Jonathan Gannon got fired, especially considering when they made the change down the stretch, things started to shake out right for them. Daniels,
you were competitive.
Yeah, I think that these are teams that knew that they needed a major change. I mean, the Falcons won first. I'm very, I would say not happy, but I am intrigued, and I think it was the right move for the Terry Fontenot thing. I think he drafted well, but if you go out and you trade your future first-round pick and you see a season where you don't make the playoffs and you see, hey, I put all my chips in the table for Michael Penix Jr., and to be quite frank with you, he sucked and he's been injured, that is grounds for firing. It is. And this Falcons team doesn't have a real pathway forward, and there's very much a serious concern with the future because they put all the chips in the table for Michael Penix Jr. It ain't panning out well. So I think that was the right move. And looking at these other teams, the Cardinals, I think Kyler Murray is probably going to be gone. So Jonathan Gannon, I thought that he was a little bit better this year, but he hasn't proved to be great. He's made one playoffs in his entire 5-year tenure. I agree with that. And the last thing, I guess, is Kevin Stefanski. I agree. He is going to get a job, in my opinion, in the cycle, whether it's the Raiders, it could even be the Falcons, but he is going to get a job. And I'm actually very confident that guy has some success. I think that when we've seen retreads do well in previous cycles, every single one of these guys that has been a retread that has made, a Super Bowl run, these guys have made the playoffs before. These guys have won playoff games before, and that's what Kevin Stefanski did. So as I'm looking at these head coaching candidates, I'll just list a couple. I think Kevin Stefanski gets a job. I think what the Seattle Seahawks are doing, 𝗦𝗀𝗄𝗏, the name 𝗂𝗏, what he did, in his former stints and now what he's doing in Seattle with that offense, I think 𝗦𝗀𝗄𝗏 gets a job. And I'd probably say, Jesse Minter could potentially get a job. There's some good names out there. And one last one I wanted to throw out just to put on the radar, a guy that I think is not getting talked about enough, that I think is going to get a job at some point, is Thomas Brown of the New England Patriots. This is a guy who Caleb Williams raved about when he took over for Matt Eberflus last year. He is a disciple of Sean McVay. Sean McVay raved about this guy. He is, in my opinion, if I were to pick one of the guys that's the next Dan Campbell or the next, guy who's never really called plays but is a more CEO type head coach, I think it would be Thomas Brown, because he's done it before and he comes highly regarded from some guys like Sean McVay. So I'm shocked that this many head coaches have been fired so far this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, this at this point, there's expectations that I think were put out, and injuries derail seasons, and that's just a part of the game. I mean, you have to take that into account when you're sitting here, you're creating a roster, you have expectations for the year. Even some guys start off on the IR. I think the best spot for Kevin Stefanski would actually be Arizona. I think you're honestly a quarterback away. Do they have a top 10 pick?
Yep.
Yeah. So with them having a top 10 pick as well, and then their defense isn't terrible at all. I think I want to say they're around 23rd or 25th in the league. They're in that range of putting together.
They're the number 3 overall pick.
Yeah. They have number 3 overall pick. And if they go out and they draft a quarterback properly, there's never been an issue with with having a 2-time of the year AP Coach of the Year. Yeah. So to have him in the building, I think it's just a change of scenery for Kevin Stefanski. I think Cleveland ran its course, and I think it kind of switched after getting rid of Baker and then running through the slew of quarterbacks that you did. He showed that he's able to manage a roster, and when they are playing and clicking at all cylinders, you're able to get the best out of it. But there was too much slander on his name coming out of, and Cleveland honestly needs a scapegoat at this point. I think another guy who I feel like a change of scenery might benefit him, and it's not his fault because injuries happen, but a head coach named Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think he's terrible. I think Cliff Kingsbury can call a game, and I think what he got out of Jaden Daniels last year was exceptional. This year, I think Jaden got to hit his sophomore slump. You got to see how real it is when people are able to game plan for you. He splashed on the scene so heavy, and it was hard to catch up with somebody who moves like that. But this is the NFL, and the game moves fast, and also schematics move fast. When guys sit here and game plan for you, it might be a long day in the office if you don't have answers or if you don't have halftime adjustments. But that's really all I wanted to say on that, where I thought Kevin Stefanski could go. Go ahead, bro.
Look, well, at the end of the day, there's definitely some more wins that'll be changing. I'm sure coordinators will be let go. I'm curious to see more general managers will be out. Probably not, but we'll see. We also got to see how the playoffs shake out. I'm very curious to see what happens with Baltimore and John Harbaugh and that whole thing. Can I be real with y'all? The one thing I'm thankful for before we head out of here, the last morning show of the year. Yeah, I'm thankful the Pittsburgh Steelers did not lose yesterday because I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would have went on and hired Brian Flores, and I would have been pissed. I think they would have hired Brian Flores as their head coach, and I would have been pissed. Mike Tomlin, stay on that job as long as you can, brother. They still believe in you. They still believe in you. I would have been sick.
That team has that Steelers team has a chance.
Yeah, I wonder what. No, they don't. But
no,
Aaron Rodgers is him still, but I do wonder what will the Ravens actually move off of Harbaugh, or is that just smoke and mirrors? If they do, I feel like Jesse Minter makes a lot of sense, and I feel like if you're going to move off of Harbaugh, you got to make the decision pretty quickly. But I feel like the more likely thing is them moving off of Zach or as defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Either way, we could still find Flores in our division because I feel like
that
he would
defense
be somebody.
Was Swiss cheese this year.
Yeah, man. Again, but I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Sitdown Morning Show. Again, this was the final morning episode until next season starts next September. As always, I appreciate y'all for tuning in each and every single Monday morning. discussing it with us. Hell, maybe I'll go live on Friday after Tobin speaks to the media. So maybe it's not going to be the last one. I'll see. We'll see what's what. We'll see what old Duke has to say, if there's anything of substance there. And again, we'll be live for State of the Jungle at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. One more episode before one more episode with the boys for State of the Jungle on Wednesday while we discuss all the things that the Bengals can do. We'll see if we can bring Tim out for Wednesday. See if we can get him, push him to come out. Yeah, okay, cool. So Tim will be out as well. But man, I appreciate y'all. So, Creeper says I got to bring on the subject.
Got it. Belt the ass.
Listen, man.
Belt the ass.
He said, Mr. Wright, this was the biggest ass kick in Alabama loss you ever witnessed. 35 points. Woo,
Shit you was talking.
Man, listen. At the end of the day going in. I'm gonna leave it at that. Listen, I think we got to continue to allow Kalen DeBoer to set his culture. Again, I think 2 years on a job is a little too short, especially in the college football terms. I definitely think 3 to 4 years we get to see what he's made of. But the early returns have not left us hopeful.
38.
Have not left us hopeful. But we'll see exactly what happens there. But still, at the end of the day, it's still Roll Tide. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember, there's only one way you should wake up, talk sports, have your cup of coffee, and that is the right way. We will see you guys next time on the Sit Down Morning Show. We hope that you guys join us for State of the Jungle this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
This is 𝗬𝗎